Hello my loves, it's Monica and welcome back to a new reading vlog. I am so excited because this reading vlog is going to be a little bit different from my normal reading vlogs that I've done on my channel, because this is going to be a month-long vlog. I'm doing a little bit of a reading experiment slash challenge in this video. Basically, for actually a few years now, I have been wanting to film a video where I read every single day for an entire month, and I just want to see if I can get it to be more of a habit and just like how it affects my reading in general if I do make it something that I do every single day. I love reading and I read a lot, obviously, but I've always wanted it to be more consistent. You know, I feel like I go through really big spurts where I read a ton and then I don't read anything at all. And I want to see if maybe having it be a consistent part of my day, even in a small way, will, you know, prevent those huge reading slumps that I have. So that is my plan for this reading vlog. It is June 1st, so I'm going to be doing this every single day this month and trying to create a consistent schedule around reading. So ultimately my goal every day is to read for 30 minutes, and I can read more than that if I want, but that's my goal. 30 minutes every single day. Can I do it? We shall see. And I'm going to be starting out this month with a manga that I've been super keen to read for a while, and that is Spy Family. And this is one that has just been everywhere recently, and my friend Matthew was actually the one who introduced it to me like a couple months ago now. He was talking about like how he was watching the anime and he just really sold me on it. It just sounded so fun. I love anything with like a found family trope, and that is like a big part of this book. But basically in this book our main character is Twilight, and he is a spy and he like goes undercover and does all these like different missions, and his current mission basically has him having to build a family so that he can enter this like private school, because his like target is the father of a child at this private school. So at the beginning of the manga he is like putting together this family, and he adopts this little girl who actually has telepathy, so she can hear everyone's thoughts. So she like knows everything that he's trying to keep secret from her. And then he also needs a wife, and little does he know that the wife that he ends up having is also a secret assassin. I'm a little bit under halfway through it right now, and it's just so fun and funny and also cute and wholesome and really just like adventurous too, with obviously with like the spy and assassin elements. So I'm really enjoying it so far, and I'm excited to continue. So my goal is to finish this today, and then I will pick a new book. But yeah, this is day one of reading every day for 30 minutes for 30 days.
I'm reading Bravely by Maki Stevata.
Amazing.
Which is the official sequel to Brave. And it's so good.
Is it good? So it is the next evening, and I ended up finishing Spy Family, the first volume, last night, and it was so good. Oh my gosh, I loved it with my whole heart. But yeah, I finished that, so I'm on to book number 2 for the month, and I'm trying to decide what it is that I want to read next. So I technically already started Princess Bari, and I have been really wanting to dive back into it, but it's a bit more of like a serious novel, and a part of me kind of just wants to read something like fun. So I also have Daughter of the Forest. I think I'm gonna do Daughter of the Forest. I just like want more fantasy vibes, you know? So I'm gonna read this. Oh, I also went to the bookstore today and I ended up picking up Ice Planet Barbarians because I feel like over the past like couple of years nonstop have been hearing about this one and how ridiculous and absurd it is, but I feel like recently I've been hearing about like how genuinely good it is. So my friend Tasman also purchased it, so I think we're gonna buddy read it. I don't think I'm gonna start this one tonight though, but yeah, I just needed to share it because I thought it was really funny. But I am gonna read for the next 30 minutes Daughter of the Forest, or maybe longer, who knows, and then head to bed because I'm quite tired and I have an early morning tomorrow for work. Hello, so we are coming up to basically a week of reading, and this has been going really well so far. So I've read the first Spy Family, and I have finished Daughter of the Forest. My thoughts on it, I really liked it overall. Super whimsical, foresty, like cottagecore, fairycore kind of vibes. I will say that it's a book that has a very young protagonist. Like you start off when she's very, very little, and she doesn't I think the oldest she gets is like 16, maybe 17. And it has maybe one of the most intense and difficult to read assault scenes that I have ever read. So keep that in mind if you're interested in reading it. It really took me out. It was something I was not expecting because, to be honest, like the book reads very cozy, very whimsical, almost middle grade like until that moment. Definitely recommend looking up trigger warnings and things for that one before picking it up if that's something that is a concern for you. But I mean, yeah, overall I did really enjoy it. Oh, I didn't love the ending though. I obviously can't tell you what the ending was, but yeah, I just didn't like it. I didn't like the ending. But I also like get why the ending had to happen, and I'm intrigued to read more in the series. So I feel kind of mixed about it. I will say one thing that I really thought was going to occur is just like flying through books. Like I did think I was going to have read more by now. I like had it in my head that doing this I would probably finish like 4 books a week or something like that. So I mean, granted this is like a chunkier fantasy, but yeah, that is definitely not something that's happening. I will say that it is quite nice to just have this become part of my routine. It's like making it part of my routine makes me feel less guilty by doing it, if that makes sense. Or maybe it's just having this challenge makes me feel less guilty reading. And I know that it sounds weird to say like I feel guilty reading, but like I think for me sometimes I struggle with always having to feel productive. It's not even that I am always productive, it's that if I am not doing something that I feel is productive, then I can't do anything. So like, you know, things that are actually restful, like, you know, playing video games, like allowing yourself to like play, find joy, reading, things like that, that are restful but also fun and creative, things like that I feel guilty doing because they also don't feel productive. However, I also like need to rest because everyone needs to rest and like have fun or whatever. So instead I end up on TikTok or Instagram or something. Usually it's mostly TikTok, which is obviously worse. But for some reason it's like my brain won't let me do the thing that I'll actually enjoy the most. So instead it does the thing that's like the easiest. I don't know if that makes sense, but having it be part of my routine takes out some of that guilt, I guess, that I sometimes associate with, you know, using my free time in a way that I actually want to use it. So I do like that. I'm now going to be picking up The Royal Assassin by Robin Hobb. This is the second book in the, I forget the name of the series, but the first book is The Assassin's Apprentice, and I really, really liked it. It's a fantasy series, and the first book we follow Fitz, and we follow him from when he's like a toddler up until like young adulthood, and it's just so good. If you like political, character-driven fantasy that is, you know, slow building but just like has such good payoff and all the things, I highly recommend this series so far. It's so good, and I'm really excited to see where this story and these characters go. So excited. So this one is substantially larger than the first book, so I'm a little bit intimidated. I actually ended up getting all of the rest of the books in the series, and they are all a lot bigger. So you know what, we're just gonna keep on and hope for the best. I will say that I do hope that this one is a little bit more fast-paced than the first one. Like, I love a slow-paced fantasy, but I don't know if I could read that slow paced of a fantasy like for this long. And like across multiple books. So yes, we will see how I get along with this one, and that will really decide my trajectory, I think, with the series. So it's a few days later, and I've been like very slowly making my way through Royal Assassin. It's so weird. I really love it, but I feel like I'm just not in the mood for it right now. So I kind of wanted to read something short to just sort of like reinvigorate me, get me inspired to be reading again. So I'm picking up A Spindle Splintered by Alex E. Haro, which is a really short book. It's an audiobook on Scribd, and it's like 3 hours long. So I'm reading that right now, and I'm really loving it. The writing is stunning. I have another book by Alex E. Haro, and I've been keen to just like read something by them for a while now because I never have. But I've just heard great things about the writing. So far I'm really liking this, and it's making me very excited to read. I think The Once and Future Witches might be the name of the book that I have, something like that. Anyways, very keen for that now, and really enjoying this one. It's like, I think it's like a Sleeping Beauty retelling. I'm only on chapter 1, but our main character is terminally ill. That's all I really know. And she's like obsessed with Sleeping Beauty. So yeah, enjoying that so far. So it's a couple days later, and I wanted to be honest, I did miss a couple of days of reading. Honestly, you know, life happens for me. Sometimes I just get anxious, or, you know, I just fall asleep. There's part of me that was like really beating myself up for it and just like really upset with myself because I wanted to be able to say like, oh yeah, I read every single solid day. But, you know, I think at the end of the day, maybe that's not realistic for every person on the planet. And it wasn't realistic for me this month, and I had to make peace with that. And initially I was like, should I just scrap this entire video because I didn't complete the challenge? But you know what? I'm still reading basically every single day for a whole month. So whatever, it's fine. Obviously these challenges are fun, and I definitely am learning a lot about myself as a reader. And I think definitely noticing some changes in just my habits as a reader, but I also think it's important to not give yourself grace and like let yourself not be perfect. And because that's, I think, one of the biggest issues with me in reading, and me in a lot of things really, is like perfectionism and the sort of defeatist feeling of like, well, if I can't be perfect, then why even bother? And you know, I definitely feel that even with reading, and I'm trying not to feel that way. And so it would be, I think, a disservice to not complete this video or to continue with this video because I can't have it be perfect. So that's how I'm feeling right now, and I'm just gonna keep on keeping on and continue reading my book as much as I can. I will say that I am about halfway through the Royal Assassin, and I am really liking it, but I will be honest, for some reason I'm just like kind of craving like something a bit more contemporary, something romance maybe. So I'm going to be switching to a new book. I actually don't have it on me right now because I am headed home tomorrow to visit my family. So I'll just be hanging out, reading, being cozy. I might not film a lot while I'm there just because I will likely want to be focusing on, you know, being with my family. But I will be reading Alone with You in the Ether by Olivia Blake, which I also can't really be updating in this vlog because I'm talking about it in another vlog that will be going up in the coming weeks. So you'll hear my thoughts on that eventually, but I'm basically going to be skipping like talking about all of my thoughts on it in this video. So yeah, that is my update and I shall see you later. Hello friends, so I am back home in New York City. I loved being home in Pennsylvania. Honestly, it was hard coming back, obviously because I love being with my family and hanging out with my family, but also because my sister just put in this like tree swing and I literally spent every single day while I was home in that swing. I did not want to leave it. Like I would basically finish work, eat dinner, and then go in the swing and just read, and it was so perfect, so lovely. I also ended up getting some noise canceling headphones recently, so I would have those in too, and it's just like perfection, absolute perfection. Yeah, while I was away, I ended up reading Alone with You in the Ether by Olivia Blake, which, as I mentioned, I will be talking about in another video. So overall, what I can say is that I feel very mixed about it. So, you know, there's that. But I am about to start a new book, and I thought I would start Agatha Christie's Crooked House, which I've been wanting to read Agatha Christie for such a long time, and I know that this is, I believe, like one of her favorite books that she ever wrote, and one of just like people's favorite books in general from her. So very excited to dive into this. In this one, we follow the Leonidas family, which is this like big family living in this like sprawling mansion. In this one, the head of the household, Aristide, I'm not really sure how to say that, but he ends up being murdered, and suspicion falls onto his widow, who is 50 years his junior. And so that is the story, and I'm very, very excited to read it and just like read another whodunit sort of story because I just love a good mystery. So yes, very excited to dive into this one, and that'll be my next read for this little month-long reading challenge. So it's a couple days later, and I am halfway through Crooked House by Agatha Christie. I've been reading a bit of it every night, and I am absolutely loving it. Oh my goodness. I honestly am like upset with myself that I have not read Agatha Christie before, because this book is so fun. I will say that one thing I can't decide on is that like sometimes characters will say things that feel a bit like microaggressions towards specifically like Asian culture. Like there have been a couple moments in this book, and I can't decide if I think that that's Agatha Christie like just creating these characters who just happen to be like white British people during this time period, and so of course are gonna say like kind of racist things, or if it's like a product of Agatha Christie herself. So not 100% sure about that, but Y'all can let me know if you know more info. But you know what, we all have our problematic faves, and Agatha might end up being mine because I will say I do really like this book a lot so far. I'm feeling really good about my reading. We are coming up to the end of the month, so yeah, I'll be sad when this month is over, but also like really happy because I definitely, like, I think for me, when I first started this challenge, I did want to film every single day, but that's just not realistic to like my experience as a human being. Like, I just cannot do that. So I did kind of start moving to just doing these updates and, you know, letting myself read every day, but not feeling this pressure to have to film every reading session, because I think that was also a big part of like why I had a couple of days in the middle of the month where I failed. So yeah, just trying to give myself a little bit of grace and all of that. So it's about halfway through Spy Family Volume 3, but I think it's time for bed. I just love this series so much, y'all. It's so fun. I know it's like super hyped right now, but 10 out of 10 would recommend. Also, I am so pink. What the heck? Hello, so it is the end of this reading challenge, and I wanted to do just a bit of a wrap up, talk about my experience over the past month and some of the impact that I'm seeing this reading challenge have just in my life now that it's been a little bit since I last did this challenge. The big sort of driver for me wanting to do this challenge in the first place was just feeling like reading, like I had gotten out of the habit of reading. Like when I did pick up a book, it was like a whole to-do, and I felt like it was really starting to, like, my perfectionism was starting to impact my reading then, because it was like a special thing that I was doing in my life. So I would feel this sort of like frozenness when it came to picking out a book to read. Like I had to pick the right book, and the right book doesn't always mean like the book that I most want to read, because I want to read everything first of all, but then it'd also be like, is this book going to like change my life? Is it going to, you know, be my new favorite book? Is it going to be a book that I can, you know, talk about online? And so I had all these like ideas or all these like thoughts floating in my head, and just like trying to like sit down and read. And reading, I don't want to make it this like stressful thing, you know, and I don't want like my perfectionism to impact my reading like it impacts everything else in my life. I thought maybe by trying to make it a habit and less of a hobby, it would help with that, and I do think it did. I don't feel that same level of commitment fear or whatever when it comes to picking up a book or reading a book. Like I just feel a lot more relaxed about it. And I will say, like I talk about this midway through the video, one of the realizations I had also was that a big part of the reason why I was struggling to, you know, be a habitual reader was because I also struggle with allowing myself to rest or to do things that aren't productive. And so when I am doing something that isn't productive and it's something that I actually enjoy, then I feel this like innate guilt around it. And I think for me, just trying to find a good balance there is something that I'm really struggling with and trying to figure out. I actually started researching therapy again after this because, you know, I think that that's something that I really do want to look into for myself, because I really struggle with like doing anything. Honestly, there are some days when I just like, I don't leave my bed, when I don't leave my room, when I don't eat or just do anything. So then because of that, I then feel this like immense guilt when I want to do something fun, because it's like, well, you didn't do anything all day, you weren't productive all day, and now you want to do something fun. Another thing that I learned from this month is just because I read more doesn't mean I read faster. That was probably the big shock for me, because I thought I was gonna have read like 20 books by the end of the month, and that was not the case. Absolutely not. I am still really, really proud of how much I read. Comparing this past month to like months previous, this year and last year, this was probably my best reading month in a while. I can't help, you know, I'm a bookish content creator. It's impossible for me to like not see other people reading like 20 books, 30, 50 books a month and to not feel like inadequate about that. And I really struggle with it, and I try not to feel that way because, again, I don't want to put this pressure around reading. You know, I want it to be this fun thing that I do, and I want it to be relaxing. But yeah, I am proud of like the amount that I read. I read 7.5 books, and I enjoyed some. I enjoyed most of them. And there were a couple that I was like about, but yeah, I was really proud about that. And I read every single day. I only missed 2 days, which honestly, I have tried this challenge in the past and have failed like within the first couple days every other time. So I'm really proud of myself that I made it to the end. But I'm going to talk about the books that I did read. So I read the first 3 volumes of Spy Family this month, and oh my goodness, I love this series so much. I did start watching the anime, and I will say that the anime, at least the first couple episodes, are very like one-to-one in terms of the adaptation, so I might wait a little while and watch the anime like after I've forgotten like exact panels from the manga, or though let me know if you've watched more of the anime and it like diverts at all, because if so, then maybe I will pick it back up. But oh my goodness, I love this series so much. It's so fun. I don't think I even talked about reading the second volume. I read that back when I was home. Speaking of being home, I also read Alone with You in the Ether by Olivia Blake. This book has been making the rounds on the internet recently too, and I liked it. It's not my favorite book in the world. That's all I'll say. I have a whole video coming out about Olivia Blake soon. Not my favorite, but not my worst, not the worst book I've ever read. Then I read Daughter of the Forest by Juliette Marillier, which again, I liked, I didn't love. I think I was really trying to like push myself to love it because so much about the vibe of this book is very much like me, you know, it's very like fairy core, cozy vibes, kind of fantasy. However, I just feel like in a lot of ways it just feels very dated. Like I could definitely tell when this book was written. I just felt like the book itself just felt very light, but then had these like really dark moments, and I don't know, there was just something about the writing that for me it just felt very jarring almost to read. So I don't know, I felt okay about it. I really didn't like the ending though, so that's sort of my take on it. I am not sure if I'm going to continue the rest of the series. I'm debating it. We'll see. Then I listened to A Spindle Splintered by Alex E. Haro, and I was like, it was okay. I didn't love it. I think for me, like the contemporary parts just read a bit too young. And that's not a bad thing about the book. It is a YA book, but it just sort of read a bit younger than what I like to read. So it's very much a personal preference thing, not like a judgment on the book or the writing of the book kind of thing, if that makes sense. I will say that I did find the like just way that the author wove in like the whole princess mythology into the story, I thought was really clever, and it did make me intrigued to want to read more by the author. I just feel like in some ways some of the things that the book was doing were just a little bit too obvious, or a little bit too much of like holding your hand and like guiding you through the book versus like letting you kind of, you know, discover things for yourself. So I felt mixed about it, but it was fine. And then the big one, Robin Hobb's Assassin Apprentice, or Royal Assassin, sorry. And I ended up restarting this one recently because I just was really struggling to like retain information like specific to like high fantasy last month. So I was just like, you know what, we're just gonna restart it, and I'm having a much better time with it now than I was last month. I felt like last month I was really having to like push and force myself while reading it. Second time's the charm, I suppose. But yeah, in that last vlog, I think I got about like a third or halfway through and really enjoyed it. I'm really enjoying it. I feel really bad because whenever I talk about it, I feel like it sounds like I'm really struggling with it, and I guess I am, but like overall I do really like it. Oh, and I read Crooked House. I don't know where I put my copy of that, and I will say I really liked it overall. I do definitely have some issues with just like, I just feel like she like peppers in occasional microaggressions or like throwaway like racist lines, and I didn't love that. I do plan on reading more of her works, but I will obviously be doing so critically, and yeah, and also like probably looking up content warnings and things just so I can be a bit more prepared, because definitely like reading it and just like reading some like the like Orientalist phrases and things that she would use is just a little bit jarring, so at least I'm like more prepared for it now. But yeah, something to look out for in case you are interested in reading Agatha Christie also. Oh, you know what I just realized? I had COVID at the beginning of that month. That is also a big part. I should have mentioned that. So at the beginning of the vlog, when I am reading with my one friend Tasman, who is also on YouTube, by the way, I will link them, you should check them out. But we were quarantining together because we had both tested positive. And so that was also, I think, a big part of why I was struggling like with Royal Assassin and stuff, because I definitely had some brain fog going on that just sort of like carried throughout the month, and I think I'm finally over that now, but that was also definitely a big part of like why I think I was struggling a bit that month. Anyways, I am going to sign off. I had so much fun doing this. Let me know if there's any other like reading challenges you guys would like to see me try out or you think I should try out. I definitely want to do the swapping my phone time for books challenge that I've seen floating around, because I do think that is like over the course of the month, just over the course of the past few months, I've just really felt this like realization that I need to get my specifically TikTok consumption out of in control. So I'm probably going to do that in the coming months. So keep an eye out for that. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss that and other future videos. And you can hit that bell icon so you get notifications of any future videos. You can also find me over on Instagram and TikTok. And yeah, I will see you all next time. Bye.